All right, so let me answer this question. Somebody asked me this question. I think the person has a data set. It's about its categorical data, or I think factors, and then the person wants to see how he can make sense from it. So I'm going to share my screen pretty soon, then show you how to be able to do that in R. It's not really difficult to do that. Okay, I want to believe I'm sharing my so I'm sharing my screen right now. So I'm just pulling up. This is R Studio. So categorical data are basically data that is like present or absent. Now we also have factors. Factor data mostly can also be put under categorical data. So for instance, you have colors. The colors of like red, yellow, something, they are categorical. So you also have something like factors. The factor can be like levels. Like you have satisfied, more satisfied, disagree, or all those things, they come under factors. So you are looking at how many factors. A factor is like a particular data, attribute, which you can count the number of times. So for instance, you interviewed like, let's say like 1,000 people, and then how many of them said they are satisfied with your product, and then how many of them say they are not satisfied. Some, on all those things. So when you have that kind of data, how do you visualize it? Or let's say you are dealing with religion, or you want to look at how many people are Muslim, how many people are ATR, how many people. So, and those are the things we call factors. And then those we also have those ones as categorical. So let's look at how to be able to visualize it in R. So I'm working in R Studio right now. As you can see, everything is plain. So I'm just going to come here, then I'll just create some dummy variables and show you how to be able to do that. So I'm going to come here and say I'm going to create a data set of about, and that data set, what am I going to be talking about? So let's say that somebody has interviewed, somebody wants to know how satisfied people are. Are people satisfied with the governance system we have in Ghana? So I'm going to just say create a variable called governance, and so that's my variable I'm creating. And so I'm sampling. So I'm just going to use the function sample. I'm sampling, let's say like 1,000 people. So I'm sampling 1,000 people from 10,000. So I'm sampling 1,000 from 10,000. And so I'm saying that replacement is actually false. So I just want to say that if I'm value, let me. And so, but if I do it this way, it's going to give me problem. So we need to know what we are going to talk about. So let's say that we want to look at whether the people in Ghana are satisfied with the way the governance is going. So, and then we want to have, how many categories we want to have? Very satisfied, somehow not satisfied. And then, so let's say we have 5 categories. So we are sampling, let's say so we are sampling from 1, which represent very satisfied. So all the way up to 5. And then so 1 will mean satisfied, and 5 means not satisfied. In between, there will be other variables. And we've sampled, and we are looking at 1,000 people. How many of them have choose satisfied, and those who have choose not satisfied? And so we are saying replacement, let's say true. Yeah, it has to be true, because if you do false, you won't be able to run that kind of data. So if I do that, I can just run this. And so if I print governance, you can see, look at how the data will look like. It's going to look like this. Okay, so now how do you make sense from it? This is just 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, and whatsoever. So the next thing you have to do is to make sure that you change it into factors. Like that's what I was saying. So we're going to create another variable called gov underscore factors. And so, and that particular variable, we are saying that we want to create it as a factor. So I'm going to say we factor what we're going to factor. So we just bring in the factor. What is it? We have already created a variable called governance. So we want to make it a factor. So it's now a factor, right? But because it's a factor, how many levels do we have there? We have 5. So we need to create the levels. So we want to have let's say the factors, just a minute, let me show you. So we want to say levels. So I'm going to create the levels of what the gov underscore factor, and then I'll come here and then simply create the levels. So I'll use the CA vector to be able to create the levels here. So when I come there, how many levels do I have? 5, because it's 1 to 5 different levels. So the first one, how do I want it to be? It's going to be called V. It means very satisfied. V underscore satisfy. But you know, we are creating characters, so it has to be like this. So I'm going to have V underscore satisfy. Okay, then you come out of it. That's very satisfied. Then we create another one, and then that will be somehow satisfied, or let me say satisfied. Here that will be satisfied. Then we come out, and then we create another one, say somehow, and then we come out here and say not satisfied. So I'm going to put that one not underscore satisfy, not satisfied. I think it should be. The grammar is not my issue here. And then we come here and say 5 should be, let's say, disappointed. So now when we do this, how many levels do we have here? Remember, it's 1 to 5. So when you are creating the levels, it has to be 1 to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you run that, and that's obviously it's going to give you. So now it means that the 1 has been replaced with very satisfied, 2 means satisfied, then 3 means somehow, 4 means not satisfied, and 5 means disappointed. Right? So we are done like that. So the next thing to do is we can simply just have a visual view of it. And this kind of data, the best way to visualize it is to either use either a box plot, or you can use a bar plot. So if I can just say plot like this, and then what am I plotting? I am plotting this particular data called gov. So I'm going to say gov. Oh, sorry, I'm typing at a different place. So plot here, I'm going to say gov, then underscore f. So if I do like this, but I want to give it a color. So I want to say my color is equal to let's say red, and so the color changes to red. So when you do that, run it, so we can see the plot is actually here. I can zoom it and then for all of us to see. So when you check, you see that now we have very satisfied, now we have satisfied, we have somehow, then we have not satisfied, and we have disappointed. So we can say that very satisfied people carry the day, and of course, and we can see how the levels are. We could have added a legend to it, so that we'll be able to see whatever that is happening. So this is how we are able to visualize a categorical data, or those kind of data that we can call them factors or categorical. Now, let me run it all over again for you to see what I was saying. First of all, I just created a simple data set or a simple sample, or I just ran it as what is a sample between 1 and then 5, and then we said that we interviewed about 1,000 people, and then we replacement true. And so we simply just put that into this variable called governance. And so we change it into factors first. So we're using the factor function, and then we pack that into this variable. And then we have to create levels to represent this 1, 2, 3. You see, so that the levels will not tell us. Because if I say 1 means this, then I have to create the levels and then add it to this. That's why I've used the level function to create the levels and put it there. And then that is all that we have done here. And then when we view, we can say that this is what we have seen here. Now, perhaps if I could do another one, for instance, you may have which particular religion in Ghana here is most dominant, or is having. So how many religions do we have? So I can just say, so we have, let's say, religion. So how many religions do we have in the country? So I'm going to create a variable called religion, and then I'm just going to create I'm just going to sample. So I'm going to sample. What is it? I'm just going to sample between 1 and then 1 to 4. Between 1 to 4. So we are going to examine 4 religions in Ghana. Okay? And then we have gone out to interview how many people? Let's say we've interviewed about 500 people. Okay? So we're going to say replacement. This is actually like probability. Replacement is true, because if we say replacement is false, what it means is that you can't actually tell whether somebody, if you say it is false, it means that we can only choose one once. We cannot choose it more than once, and that will not work in this particular instance. So when we run that, we can see that we have all the 500 people have answered, and look at how it looks like. That's how the data is going to look like. Then we cannot come here and say that once we have them like this, we have to change it into factors. Okay? And so we have to change all of them into factors, and so that each one will now be a level. So we simply going to say that our religion, okay, we're going to say our religion underscore factors. They are variable. You can write it the way you want. And then we're going to say a factor. We want to make them a factor. So what factor? We are saying that religion, and then we run that. So they become factors, and we need to create levels so that the levels will allow us to know each level represents a particular religion. So what we simply do is we just say levels like this, and then we are now using the variable with the factor. So we say religion underscore factor, which is here, and then in that case it becomes if you've been following my tutorials how to rename a table, how to rename columns and rows, is the same thing, or how to rename your variables. They are all the same thing, like I'm doing. The levels is like trying to give the levels their names. And so now we use the C, and make sure that, but because we are using characters to name them, the names are in characters, I have to put them in double quotes. So I come here and start with it. So let me say the first one is ATR, and then I'm going to come out and say that the second one is, let's say, Islam, and then let's say the third one would be Christianity, and then the fourth one would be Buddhism, or let me say Rastafarianism. So I'm just going to put Rasta. So because the levels are 1 up to 4, you cannot do anything more than that here. It has to be like that. So now the levels are there, and so that is it. So now let's come and then we can do a box plot, and then maybe we have our box plot here. We can just have a view of it, and so we say religion underscore factor, which has the factors. And then when we do that, our box plot is actually here. But this will not make proper sense. So for me, box plot is not too good in visualizing this kind of data because the interpretation is always cumbersome. So I will not do that. I will go for what is it? Just a plot. So I will give me a default plot. Let's say a plot, and I'm saying religion underscore factor like this, and then you give it a color, and then the color I'm just going to say blue. I'm sorry about that. Blue. And when I do that, so that way I can see so you can see how, so we have ATR, we have Islam, we have Christianity, and we have Rasta. And obviously you can see that in Ghana Christianity dominates. You know, what is it in this case, because as the data is picked as random, you can see that ATR is following by Rasta, followed by Islam. And so this is how the data has been distributed. So if you had gone out to like interview a lot of people and you want to see how what is it, you want to see how many of them are Muslims and whatsoever, you have categorical. So you're going to say if the person is Muslim, you tick 1. If the person is there, you tick 2. Now when you come back and you want to make sense from it, this is how you are able to make sense. And that's exactly what I was talking about. So this is how we visualize categorical data, or what we also call the factors, how to visualize factors or categorical data. I hope you've understood what I've done here. And so this is the power of what's this R programming. Is that simple. If not, when you pick something like this, one like this, it's going to be a whole lot of wahala for you. So just pick it, and then that is it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again. Bye bye.